everybody. Welcome back to another episode of You Got, a Game of Thrones podcast. My name is Sophia.
And my name is Carly, coming to you from Pittsburgh and over the phone.
Yes, sorry about the sound quality. It's, we're not together all the time. We try to be. We really try to be.
We really do. We try to be a lot.
Yeah, but we kind of jerry-rigged a recording setup, so it doesn't sound great.
For you.
But it's for you.
It's for you. We love you.
Because we love you. So we're here to talk about the premiere of Season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Winterfell.
Game of Thrones Winterfell may be the only time in this show that fan service was totally okay, in both of our opinions.
Yes, actually, even though this episode, it was a little less than an hour, I believe it came in at 55 minutes.
I think it was 54. I mean, sorry
whoa.
to be nitpicky, but I remember all of us looked at it being like, well, that's short.
Yeah, it ended and it was like, oh. Okay.
Guess that's it.
That's it. That's all we get.
For the rest of the season.
Yep, that's all we get. Yeah, so whatever. It's fine. They added on an extra 20 minutes to the Battle of Winterfell, so they're making up for it. I think a little bit.
I hope, honestly. I think that in this episode we needed we needed an episode where we can see our heroes being together and being happy and alive.
Yes.
A little bit. So I mean, my cousin's husband described it as it's like Days of Our Lives, Game of Thrones edition, because it was a lot of fan service. But honestly, if this is the only fan service the episode and the rest is just full of bloodshed and tears, I'm gonna be happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little wary of what the next episode is going to bring, just based off of what happened in this episode and kind of the lack of plot movement. It worries me a little bit, seeing the trailer for next week's episode, which we'll get into that later, but it doesn't seem like much more is going to happen until episode 3. So I almost wonder if we're going to get a little more fan service, this time being in terms of Jaime Lannister meeting his maker with the Starks, but and Tormund and Beric and all that kind of stuff. We'll see them again, but I'm interested. There was a lot, and even though this episode didn't do much in terms of forwarding, the storyline, it did change a few things. And before we get deep into the cast of characters and, what happened, I want to talk about the very major change that happened right off the bat. And this is, of course, the new intro sequence.
Oh, it was so pretty. That was, I think my biggest reaction to this episode was seeing the new intro sequence, because, part of me was like, maybe that's why they took 2 years to make this. One year was just dedicated to the show, and the other year was just how are we going to make this look really good?
How do we make, it's so intricate. And I mean, since the show started, we've been treated to a sprawling, intricately almost carved map of Westeros and its outlying areas, right? And it's always served as a guide for us as viewers. This is where the show is taking place. This is where you're going to go as viewers. Get a lay of the land, right? Know where this is taking place, know where we are. But Sunday, oh boy.
We got some, that wasn't, I almost said fan service, because that was just kind of dessert.
It was.
We were already excited enough for the entire main course of this episode, but my God, that intro, because I did not expect that.
Yeah, or an excellent appetizer. An appetizer that they brought out that you didn't order. They're like, oh, we accidentally fired it.
We made two. Do you want some extra cake? Yes, I do.
Yes, absolutely. Thank
always.
You. Yeah. Yeah. So it was, a very welcomed change, actually.
It was. And I think, was this the first time that the intro sequence has only been in one place?
Yeah, so it's the first time that we've gone microscopic with it, right? So, so the intro starts at the broken wall, right? And there's a hole, and it takes us through what could almost be considered the destruction of Last Hearth, which actually we'll get into later in this episode. It doesn't. It happens in this episode, but we don't see it. And then the majority of the rest of those 2 minutes are spent almost solely on Winterfell and King's Landing. Dany has landed. The wall is broken, and the show is letting us know we're in it. We're microscopic now. We are no longer looking at this world. What happens now is going to affect the world outside of it. So instead of, looking at that, we need to look at what's going on inside. We get a deep look at Winterfell's Great Hall, and very importantly, we get to see the crypts.
Yes.
If we weren't sure that they were going to play a role, I think we now know just how important they're going to be. I mean, John finds out a very important piece of information in the crypts later in this episode, and like the Starks reuniting has been very crypt oriented. So I'm interested to see. I think we'll have to dive into the crypts a little bit more, don't you, Carly?
Dive into the crypts. I think we do too. And I mean, we had kind of figured that they might have played an important role, but I feel like the crypts, to me, kind of like they sort of represent what this show has become, which is like all of these little aspects of the show that never seemed important are coming back and kind of being huge. Like, and I've grappled with this a lot since really actually just kind of in the past week. Everything we've talked about with the show kind of getting like a bumpy past few seasons, I feel like it's less about the show's quality and a little bit more about how this is not the same show. We're not even focused on the same goals. I mean, a lot of people are still asking, who do you think is going to be on the throne? I don't think anybody is, because I don't think there's going to be a throne. But I mean, looking at that and looking at kind of what we're focusing on now, it's weird because anything we've focused on in the past few seasons about, who's playing the game the best and who to focus on, who to watch, and who, we think is going to die, none of it really matters now. Like, the loyalties we have to the characters and the loyalties we think that they have to each other, I honestly think priorities are completely shifted now. So I do think I like focusing on an area like the crypts that has previously seemed kind of unimportant and just sort of a nice element of the landscape and of Winterfell. It's kind of coming back in a major way.
No, absolutely, and they do that again.
Crazy important place.
They do that again because it goes through Winterfell, and then it goes through King's Landing, and it goes into the dungeons where you see the dragon bones, and that's something that we know that the skull of Balerion is below the Red Keep. Like that is something we very much know, and they just slowly, subtly just toss that in there, like, hey guys, by the way, we haven't forgotten either,
more cool underground places for you that hey, by the way, exist.
So maybe our minisode next week should be about the crypts, but we can also talk a little bit about the black cells and what happened to Balerion and the destruction of that.
Mini-sode. I'm so excited about these.
I am too. It's integral, right? Because we have to remember, this show has been going on for 8 years now. There have been so many things that have happened, and and if we are going microscopic with it, we have to remember all that stuff. They're requiring us. They released a list of all the episodes that you need to watch in order to be prepared for this final season. So it's basically, I mean, a lot of it is, there's only one episode in season 5, just so you know. They're acknowledging that too.
God. But I feel like they threw it in there just because they had to. We gotta use one. We spent a lot of money on that season. Of course, it's
only Hard Home it makes it on the list. But yeah, I would highly suggest checking that out. I have a feeling, it's a lot of early days stuff. Season 1, episodes 2, 3, 9, and 10. So you get a lot of that stuff that's happening at Winterfell, Ned talking to Jon, Ned talking to Robert, those conversations that maybe we blew through in the originally probably actually carry a lot of weight and will matter coming up. It's Brian Cogman, the writer, was the one that revealed it. I don't know, it's very interesting, and so that's a change, right? The title sequence isn't change, and then not only does the title sequence change, also the astrolabe, which used to represent the history of Westeros, the doom of Valyria, the battle of the Trident, and then the rise of Robert Baratheon. It's changed and now memorializes in this order the fall of the wall in Eastwatch by the Sea, the Red Wedding, and the birth of the dragons.
Which kind of, question here is this show has always had a habit of looking back, or I guess history repeating itself. So even this episode really, really, really emphasized flashing back to moments in the first episode and the first season. So are we kind of in a new, does this signal that this is a new Westeros? And which I believe it does.
I wish. I would hope. I would hope so. It still ends, with the lion, the Lannister, Wolf, Baratheon, and Stark. It still ends, with those 4 at the top of the astrolabe. But I almost wonder if it's, those houses are still important and we can't forget history. And maybe it's just honoring them at this point. Yeah.
Maybe those are the only houses that make it.
I mean, good luck Greyjoys then. Shoot.
Oh, that's true.
Sorry, Greyjoys. I mean, hey, they got kind of short-shrifted in this episode anyway, so
yeah.
So I think let's talk about it. I would agree that you mentioned it was sort of a fan service type episode. Yes, I think I would agree it was a gift to the fans. It tied up a lot of loose ends, but it also created a very cyclical feeling. It mirrored the pilot so much. I mean, there were so many callbacks to what happened in that first episode. The beginning, the boy mirrors Bran watching Robert riding into Winterfell, know, and it's now Dany and Jon and the Dothraki horde and the Unsullied and 2 full-grown dragons, and Dany's entrance is kind of reminiscent of Cersei's, right? Sansa utters Winterfell is yours to her, which harkens back to what Ned said all the way in that first episode. Robert goes, 9 years, how has it been 9 years? And he goes, I've been keeping the peace for you up in the north, so Winterfell is yours. It's just like, Sansa has, and I think that is a really poignant moment right there. It's like Sansa's learned. All she has to say is, Winterfell is yours, your grace. Woo! Oh my gosh. What did you think of those two meeting?
I thought, at first I kind of thought, like, not even fan fodder, but just like, okay, we're spurring some drama, like, for no real reason. Like, of course they're going to pit these 2 women against each other. That's not great. But it made sense to me later. Like, it really, really did. When they start talking about, like, we had loyalties because we had the king in the north.
Right.
Like, that's why we had loyalty. And I understand why Jon is doing what he's doing, but I understand Sansa's, reluctance to accept this person as the new ruler of Westeros.
Absolutely.
Or Westeros. Oh my god, maybe.
I mean, all of it.
All of it, just everything.
Just she is the ruler. Who cares about Essos at this point? It's just like,
Exactly.
Who knows what's going to happen to Essos if Westeros falls? I mean, at this point, yeah. I also agree. I think that Sansa has learned so much that, she can't just welcome Daenerys in with open arms. She has to face her in front of everyone, in front of Lyanna Mormont, in front of Jon Royce, in front of, the men of Winterfell, the lords and ladies of Winterfell, the townsfolk, right? She is their representative, right? So her saying Winterfell is yours, your grace, but not really accepting, she doesn't say, Dany is like, she kind of patronizes her. She's like, oh, you're so beautiful. Sansa's like, yeah, okay.
That's like the last thing that matters right now.
Yeah. Like, you can tell how much she's grown, because I think Sansa, even 2 seasons ago, would have kind of been like, oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You're so pretty. Not even that, but you know what I mean? Like, she has learned, I think that it was very telling, that moment of her. And Jon kind of being like, oh, crap. Well...
Sansa's not easily won over anymore, and I think she always was, and I think that's the one kind of interesting flashback that won't happen in Winterfell is we won't get the harkening back to the maiden in the north, like this kind of like girl, like, oh my gosh, I want to get married and I want to have like babies with Joffrey. We're not going to get that flashback because that girl's not around anymore. Like she has grown up and she's now kind of like the Ned of the North.
And in fact, she even kind of jokes about Joffrey's death when she's reunited with Tyrion. Sansa, I think, has really proven herself in this episode, I would argue, to be the leader that the North needs, and the ward that the North needs, arguably. If she's not the leader, if she's not the king in the North, she's the Lady of Winterfell. She will protect Winterfell.
I agree, and I think her mistrust of Dany is, or distrust of Dany is, it's representative of the North. I mean, they even say, walking in, I think it's kind of funny because they have like this, really dramatic music when Jon and Dany walk in,
I know.
Like the horses are coming, and then you cut the music out and everyone is just
staring at them. I know, and they're staring at Missandei and Grey Worm, and like you very much feel the Northmen do not like outsiders. They do not welcome this, and Jon should have known that. Right, and Jon should have known that going in. He should have arguably, like, the boy really knows nothing. Jesus. Like,
he knows more now, but he still knows nothing.
Exactly. No, I think that the highlight, I think maybe Sansa was a highlight of this episode for me, just in terms of all of her, like, interactions, with Tyrion and her saying, I used to think you were the cleverest man I ever knew. I'm like, God, you just ruined him.
I know, and I was, that hurt. Like, that line stung, because I was, honestly, one of the reunions I was kind of excited about was Sansa and Tyrion, and not that I was expecting it to be anything warm and fuzzy, but I was excited about it because he was a kindness to her in a very, very unkind place.
Yes.
And so I was excited to see it. Not that she doesn't owe him anything, but like at all. But I was excited to see what their interaction would be like. And it took a different turn than I expected, to be honest.
God.
And one thing it made me kind of think about, because so the interaction between Sansa and Tyrion I thought was interesting because Tyrion has always been my favorite character, and I think he's always played the game well, and he's always, to me, been like Sansa said, he used to be the most clever character and the smartest character.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly after this episode, I found an article that said, I found several actually. One on Vox that said, the title is Game of Thrones, Tyrion was the game's sharpest player, now he's in trouble. And there was an AV Club article, and this title cut me, and oh my god, it just gut punched me. It's just, does Game of Thrones even need Tyrion anymore? Which made me want to cry.
Yikes.
It was a deep cut because. And at first I got really defensive, oh, of course they need him. But at the same time, like I said, this is a very different show than the show we started with. The priorities of the show are completely different now. And I think Tyrion fit really well into the show when its priorities were political. And now they're not. Now they're about kind of saving the world in a way, or at least saving the characters and the houses. They're less about the throne. So I do kind of wonder if if Sansa's line of, you used to be the cleverest, smartest man in the world, what happened? I do wonder if that's foreshadowing him just kind of being eliminated from the show. I mean, he was one of the safest characters he used to be.
Oh, yeah. No, anytime he's in a scene, you're like, he's safe. It's Tyrion.
He's fine. He's not going to die.
Right. Yeah. Even in season 5, when there was all that, you knew that he had to get to Daenerys. You're like, nope, he has to make it to Daenerys, and once he makes it to Daenerys, everything will be right. But actually, once Tyrion made it to Daenerys, he stopped matter. He mattered for a little bit, but then she got Jorah, she got Davos, she got Jon, she got all these people that kind of, and Varys, she gets all these people that can kind of give her advice. And yet, yes, Tyrion is the hand of the queen, but
last season, I mean, he made a critical mistake. Last season, she was pissed at him about oh my gosh, what was it? Sending the Unsullied to
Casterly Rock.
Casterly Rock, exactly. Because they lost a lot in the process of that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I really do wonder. I wonder about how long this character can stay on the show. One of the critical kind of turning points I felt with Tyrion is that he seems to believe Cersei's sending an army, which, I don't understand. He has never been one to look at Cersei and go, oh, yeah, seems trustworthy.
Right.
He knows better than that, especially now, because if Cersei wasn't trustworthy before, I don't think there's anything left of her to trust at all anymore. So I don't know. I don't know what's happened to him, and we've kind of seen a decline in Tyrion over the past few seasons, especially after he killed Tywin. It's been kind of a little bit of a decline.
Yeah.
And maybe it's guilt, maybe it's he doesn't have anything to prove to a father anymore, or his father who never approved of him anymore. I don't know, but for me, a critical kind of questioning point was when he seemed to really believe in Cersei, and I just think that's so not. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, and Jamie even saw through her, and for Jamie to be like, no, what are you doing? How could you? Well, I mean, she tells him that
he's the only one to know.
Right. She tells him she's gonna lie, but he's like, that is so wrong, and that is so messed up, and then he leaves. Tyrion believes wholeheartedly that because Cersei, because her life and home is at stake, she will, aid in the war. She just wants to. No. That is, we know Cersei. We've known Cersei from the beginning, and it doesn't seem in Tyrion's character to automatically assume that she will just go by her word and be a woman of her word. That doesn't. It just doesn't. I agree. It doesn't sit right with me, and I think that
it doesn't fit.
And Sansa literally calling him out, I really hope is a wake up call for him. Sansa,
yes, I do too.
Because I think he went into that conversation thinking oh, it's Sansa. She loves me, she doesn't love me, but we got a good thing going, she and I never hated each other. My wife. I know you've been married again, but wouldn't, still mine. Still mine. No, I think I really hope it's a wake up call, because in that same conversation he has, with Varys and Davos, who is only in one scene,
You noticed that, huh?
I did. Well, Brienne is in a scene and doesn't even get a line, so it's fine.
True.
Yeah. Tyrion, they're the ones telling Tyrion things. You know what I mean? And it's very interesting that he seems to have taken a back seat. I don't know if it's the writing. I don't know if it's a choice that they're making with this character. But it seems that he's fallen off the wayside a little bit.
It does, and it worries me. And I will link to those articles on our Twitter because they're worth reading and they're worth considering. But man, I hope they don't carry any weight later.
It's interesting to see kind of the Lannister siblings right now. So clearly, first Tyrion was the one that everybody loved, the one that everybody supported, and now when you really look at it, I mean, it's Jaime, right? You see Jaime, and who's had this hero's journey, who's made his way, who finally arrives in Winterfell at the very end. He's facing, he has spent his entire journey he's going to face his makers, right? And he's facing his challenges head on. Tyrion likes to find ways to skirt around his challenges. Cersei just ignores them until someone else takes care of them.
Exactly.
It is very interesting to see these three Lannister siblings. They're the only ones that are left over. The only way that this house could possibly survive. And they are, I don't know, man, 2 out of 3 are not doing well.
They're really not. They're really not. And I mean, to be honest, as much as I love Tyrion, Jaime has gone through one of the most fascinating character arcs and journeys of the show, and one of the greatest changes. And I'm really excited to see him in the North, and especially with his hopefully loyalties kind of shifted because oh man, especially with that with the Bran and Jaime connection at the end of the episode.
I know. What a cliffhanger. What a cliffhanger. I think we can. I think Lannisters, man. Even I thought that the brunt and the strength in this episode lies in Winterfell and in what happened to the characters in Winterfell. We very shortly we see Cersei, we see Euron and Qyburn and the Mountain and Theon and Yara, right? But I think that entire those moments take up maybe 7 to 10 minutes of the episode, and it felt so rushed. And I think this is where the problem with pacing comes in. It's okay, yes, I love seeing Arya embrace Jon, have moments with Gendry, have moments with the Hound, all that kind of stuff, which we'll talk about. However, Theon rescuing Yara.
That was a huge deal, and I could have used 5,000 minutes less of the weird dragon raid.
Oh my God, the How to Train Your Dragon 4. That's what that was, right? I'm okay, all right. What's up, Hiccup? How you doing? No, it was ridiculous. I'm wait, you guys, you don't need to sell the audience on Jon and Dany once you've revealed that Jon is a Targaryen. Here's the thing, you have to stop at that point, right? At that point, no one wants to see it. Even people that ship them are yeah.
It was a fan fiction, what if we had it where they ride the dragons together and Dany makes fun of him for being scared?
But also him riding a dragon, only Targaryens can ride dragons. So him riding a dragon should be the biggest exclamation, you know what I mean? Everything should go off. Dany should be oh my God, wait, what? You can ride a dragon by yourself? How is that possible? She's a Targaryen.
True.
She should be so proud of the fact that she can ride one, and then he just gets right on. I was
what? He gets right on, and here's my thing. I was looking forward to this scene where it's maybe they're going into battle, and Dany's I need help. I need air help.
I need air support.
And he's
right.
John's oh, I'm the only one who can do it, and he gets on fire. That would have been great if that's how it happened. If that's how that little reveal that oh my God, he can ride a dragon happens, or not even he can ride a dragon, but just
he does.
He's riding a dragon.
He's riding a dragon.
If it led into a battle scene, sure, but it was this fluffy, weird moment that I don't think anyone needed or maybe even wanted. And
then Dany says the same thing that frickin' Ygritte says to him. We could just stay here for 1,000 years. I'm stop. What? No, Ygritte was his love. You leave it alone. Stop being a dead horse. God. Yeah. No, so we got that instead of, a Theon, a wonderful redemption scene for Theon, who says he makes it his goal in the season 7 finale. He's I'm going to rescue Yara. I was okay, great. That's probably going to be his storyline for at least 3 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope.
Maybe 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Oh, yeah, you get 3 minutes, and you don't even, get to see him do anything. Like, all you get is a shot of the silence. You don't even really see them climbing up the silence. You watch Yara, and then all of a sudden Theon's there, and they rescue her, and then they're on a ship. And then he's like, now I've got to go north. I've got to go north. I'm going to join the battle.
I've got to go north.
Got to go north.
Yara.
Which is fine. Like, and Yara's like, okay, I'm going to go make sure, the Iron Islands are good because Euron's not there. He's busy getting down with Cersei, which also we have to talk about. Yeah, I just thought it was so rushed. And for a character that we've known for 8 years, to just kind of have him be like, I'm here and now I'm gone.
Not even a character we've known for 8 years. A character we knew at the beginning, we saw completely get, oh my God, just like beat down and like destroyed for several seasons until last season when he kind of bounced back a little. That should have been a huge celebration of like, oh, Theon's back, y'all. Like, he's actually back. He's doing stuff, and he's a valuable character, and he's kind of proving himself to Yara again. Great. Like, that's amazing. That should not have been rushed over.
I agree, and I almost wonder, like,
Dragonflight.
Right, I know, and I wonder, like, they keep saying, like, you'll never be able to call what happens, and I wonder if it's because they're purposefully hiding it. Like, what if Theon actually really plays an important role in the Battle of Winterfell, and so they just, like, burst through it so that we don't think about Theon? Like, is it their way of kind of tricking us, right? Like, by writing it kind of crappily, like, by writing it quickly. I don't know. What?
Honestly, maybe, because if you look at how much time they spend on Rob in the first few seasons, that's one of the reasons why nobody knew the Red Wedding was coming. And, like, to be honest, like, maybe we should have, because if you look at, like, Ned was like, oh, he's the main character. He's going to be on the throne.
Ned died.
Right. Spoiler alert, by the way.
Sorry,
Ned
guys.
dies at the end of the first season.
Oh, in case you didn't know.
If you weren't sure, he's definitely dead.
Right.
He's gone. And, I mean, so I don't know. I do feel like the more time they've spent on characters, maybe we shouldn't expect those characters to actually go any further this season. Like, I don't know. Whatever mysteries they're up to, I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
Stop trying to guess.
I think I'm just like, I'm frustrated that that's how they chose to spend the time with this episode, especially if you're only giving yourself 55 minutes to do it. Like, okay, sure, give us a little bit more. Like, we need to know, like, I know that Theon can fight. He fought all those men and won a team, right? He won his crew. But I don't know, like, he's a main character. Why do we need to spend time on, like, Euron and a freaking dragon dance? Like, I don't understand. It just, like, it's just all this, like, just give us the time that we need with the characters that we've been spending time with this whole, like, time. Wow. Okay, Sophia, that was a lot.
Let's talk about Euron and Cersei.
Okay. Yeah, I think greasy pirate sex. Well, and it's interesting. So Euron shows up with Sir Harry Strickland, who, my God, I know I wasn't going to talk, I know I'm not talking books. I know I'm not supposed to. I know I'm not, like,
Sophia.
I promised myself I wouldn't, but can I just read you the description of Harry Strickland in the books?
Please, yes.
Okay, great. Just give me a second. His alias is Homeless Harry Strickland. He goes by Sir or Captain General. He is portly, with a big round head, mild gray eyes, and a thinning gray hair that he brushes sideways to cover up a bald spot. He loves elephants. He likes to boast gold for 4 generations, and he complains often of blisters on his feet from long marches. He is not the bravest man. Okay, so that's Harry Strickland in the books, right? He's just this kind of, like, he's the leader of the Golden Company. He's the Captain General. He's an exiled knight. He's just kind of, he's a dude. He's just a dude.
Yeah.
He's a dude.
He's some guy.
Like, he's a character in and of himself in the books, right? So they cast very good-looking guy.
Fabio of Game of Thrones. He looks like
Mark
the first,
Rissman.
Dario.
He does. I don't know why they chose to, cast a very attractive guy as Harry Strickland unless he's going to be extremely important. Like, here's what I think. This could be kind of crazy, but we know that Euron he's now slept with Cersei. That happens in the show. That happens in this episode. He finally is like, Cersei realizes that she's alone and she really does not have anybody else. She's like, you want a queen, earn her. And Euron's like, I mean, what else can I do? Literally, I've done everything you've asked of me. And Cersei's like, yeah, that's a good point. The look on her face, she's like,
If I have to.
Fine. But it also means that Euron has already gotten what he wants.
Right.
And I don't know. I feel like Harry Strickland, even though he's kind of introduced as a non-person. What did you think of his introduction, first of all? Yes, that's what I thought.
Honestly, non-person is a really good way to put it, because the moment he was like, my golden company is yours or whatever, I was like, wait, him? Like,
yeah.
That's the leader? Him?
Yeah.
Like, I already have still kind of been in the mindset of just like, I don't, as a non-full book reader, I still don't know a lot about the Golden Company. I still, like, they're kind of a mystery to me, and I was kind of looking for some more explanation and like purpose of them for them. I was like, well, that guy kind of looks like Dario, and that's kind of the furthest I got in reacting to this man.
Okay, solid. So he's a non-person. So I'm interested to see, now that Euron has gotten what he wants. He did bring the Golden Company, however, he's not partnered with the Golden Company. He could just up and leave. And I wonder if Harry Strickland is actually going to be a really important. He kind of looks like Jaime. He kind of looks like, he's kind of like sexy and blonde and all that. I'm like, okay, I could kind of see him being an actual, I don't know, potential villain, potential not foil for Cersei, but foil for, the Westeros, basically, or the Night's King. I don't know. I think that he matters, is what I'm saying. By this recasting and changing him up, they didn't do it for no reason.
Right. No, I think you're right.
I mean, we also don't need any more old men in this show. That's fair. I get that.
That's true.
However.
No, I totally agree. So kind of jumping back to Cersei and Euron.
Yes.
Quickly, I actually noticed something, and I want to see what you think about it. I found an article. It was the article on Vox I mentioned earlier. There's a line in this article that says, it's talking about Tyrion. Tyrion figures out, thanks to Cersei not drinking and clutching her belly, that she's pregnant. So that happened last season. Is Tyrion realized, okay, she's pregnant, she's not drinking wine, which we know that's a big deal for Cersei, and she's clutching her belly. After she sleeps with Euron, she is drinking wine, right?
Yep.
So I think that's interesting, because I'm still a big believer in the fact that she is not pregnant. I don't believe she's pregnant.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think she used that to hold over Jaime's head.
Yeah.
And there have been a few articles that have speculated that Tyrion's loyalties are being a little tested, and Dany thinks so too, because he still, despite everything, does love his family, and he loved his nieces and nephews, except for Joffrey, because he was awful.
Right.
But Tyrion expressed a lot of grief. But, Cersei was like, you don't care about this family. You don't care about what happened to my children. And Tyrion says, I loved those children, and if you have any heart left, you'll know that.
Right.
And so I do wonder, like, if Cersei's using the story of being pregnant as leverage and a way to kind of, like, gain Tyrion's trust and make him believe, she's sending an army, and maybe he's going to want to protect, like, his unborn child a little bit more, and so is Jaime, even though there might not be one. And truly, I don't believe there is one, because I could not gauge her reaction after Euron says, like, I'm going to put a baby in your belly.
I don't know what that scene was. I agree. I don't think that she's pregnant, but that whatever look she gave once he, like, turns his back and leaves, that there's tears in her eyes.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, this woman is alone. That is the only impression I got from that scene.
Yes, and I agree, because I grapple with that scene, because a few people said, oh, it's because she already has a baby in her belly. I don't think she does. I think that either A, maybe she did and she lost it, B, she never did, that's what I think, I guess, those are the only two things. But, I
mean,
agree.
she wishes she had one and it was Jaime's and not
and
Euron's.
She realized maybe she wasn't pregnant or something.
I don't know. I don't see Cersei doing like a complete 180 and going good at any means. No. But I do think that, even bad people have emotion. Like, I know it's surprising, but villains have emotion. So I think
villains are people too.
Whoa, I know. So I think it's very important. I think that was a very grounding moment for us as an audience to see of her, because she has done so much and caused so much destruction, and she's never reacted. You know what I mean? Like, she always has that smirk on her face,
stoic.
And so to see Euron break through that, and I don't know if it was Euron, I don't know if it was his actions or if it's just everything kind of came down on her in that moment, and I think that was really interesting. Also interesting to note, Lena Headey did not want that to happen.
Really?
Yes, I read an article on it. She was not a fan of it initially. After talking to the writers, she was like, okay, fine, I understand. But yeah, no, she did not want Cersei to do that originally.
I agree with her because I was actually surprised. I was surprised as soon as she said like, if you want to, like, if you want a queen, you have to earn her. And she walked away. I thought that was going to be the end of it.
Me too.
And I was really surprised that it turned around. That was weird
was too.
To me.
I agree. And so her turning around, I think was, as she walked away, she was probably like, so he's given me the Iron Fleet. He's given me the Golden Company, and now he's here. He didn't get me elephants, but I can't really hold that against him, right? I can hold that against Terrence Strickland. So I don't know. I think she realizes, one, she's alone, and she needs him to stick around. Like he can leave at any point, as he said to Yara. He still might leave. Like like it's a possibility that he might still leave her, and I think that's what she's realizing is like she's gotten herself into a not too great of a situation. She's alone now, and I was appreciative of that moment. I very much was.
Yeah.
Just that last moment, not the sex.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. There are little moments of Cersei where I do feel bad for her, and that is one of them, but at the same time, like, she's Cersei.
Yeah, okay, so I think we've taken care of King's Landing and whatever happened in wherever Theon was. We can journey on back to Winterfell a little bit, because, as I said, most of the cyclical feeling and the idea of history repeating itself and all that kind of, it happened in Winterfell, right? This episode is called Winterfell. Cersei she shouldn't have even been in it. Like, if you're gonna name the episode Winterfell, just have it take place completely in Winterfell.
Right.
And like put Cersei in the next episode. I don't know. That
No, totally agree.
Whatever. Daenerys clearly lands on Winterfell in this episode. It's very exciting. And in Daenerys landing, it means that all these people that have been with her come back as well. And I think that, a lot of characters get reunited, but Arya has, I would say, the most. She gets reunited with the most people, right? She gets reunited with, three of the men who have arguably had the most impact on her besides Ned Stark and Jack and Hagar, right?
Yes, and she and Gendry are flirting?
Oh my God. Right? What? Are we going to see Arya, like... I don't know. I don't even want to say it. Like, it feels wrong. It feels wrong to say it. I can't. It
feels wrong. Also, I really want to talk about it really quick. She looks like Sean Bean.
She does?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
Like, she looks like Ned. And it's
the way
adorable.
that she holds herself is so wonderful. And it was so interesting, as it's same as in the first episode, she's not there when they all arrive, right? Because she wants to look at them. And as she looks, the three men, Jon, the Hound, and Gendry, walk by. They don't even notice her. They don't even look at her. And I think maybe she was looking at that moment, like, do I look like Arya, right? Like, do they see me as Arya, or have I changed so much that they don't even recognize me anymore?
Yeah,
and I think
that's a fair question.
And I think that's kind of the tell that she gets. She's like, oh, wow, okay, so I have changed. I have to go seek them out as opposed to them finding me. And I think that's very important. And then, so we do get her reuniting with the Hound and Gendry and Jon, but we also get Jon reuniting with Bran, which is so wonderful.
Well, okay. I like in that scene, though, Jon is kind of like, oh, it's good to see you. And then Bran says something weird and cryptic, and Jon just kind of goes, okay.
And then he looks at Sansa. He looks at Sansa, and she's like, yeah, I know.
Well, and Jon is just like, that's enough, and like does not continue the conversation.
No.
He's just too weirded out, and he's like, that's too
He's
much
like, we're done. I'm not even going to introduce you to Dany, to be honest. Like,
No.
We're just going to leave that here, Bran.
Yeah, we're just gonna moonwalk right away from that one. And,
moonwalk away from that situation. So that was really good. And then, but I do think that like the moment between Jon and Arya, yeah.
I loved it.
Will you take me through it? Take me through it, Carly.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Them just like meeting under the weirwood was like perfect, just because that you can't get much more north and Winterfell and Stark.
Right.
Than the two of them meeting under the weirwood.
And we need right now to see Jon as a Stark, right? It's very important for us because we know he's a Targaryen, but also he's half Stark, and so it's important for that.
He still is a Stark, exactly, and that's the important thing to remember. Is like I understand that the news that he is a Targaryen is heavy, and it carries a lot of weight for everyone who finds out. But at the same time, he still is a Stark. Like, he has that blood. He is fire and ice. Like, he is those two. He is the mixing of that blood. The scene of him and Arya was maybe my favorite in this episode, because he and Arya have always had a close bond. That's always been a thing. They've always been the black sheep of the family.
Yep.
Arya's always been kind of the tomboy who was more of a fighter than a lady, and obviously Jon was considered the bastard of the family, and both of them were fighting for not acceptance, but were kind of carving their own way.
Yeah.
And they very much bonded over that. In the books and in the show, they were always close. And so seeing them come back together was probably my favorite moment in this episode, and not even fan service. It was just, it needed to happen.
It was
so
necessary. It was incredible. And I'm glad they made it happen in this episode. You know, again,
Yeah.
like, this is the only time that they're really going to be able to do this. So give it, and they gave that reunion the time that it needed. You know,
Yeah.
it starts off with Arya sneaks up on Jon, right? I mean, like, she uses her faceless men tactics to sneak up on him, and he knows he definitely can tell that she is not the same. I mean, he says he can't believe that she still has Needle, right? You know, like,
and then they compare swords. I
know.
love that so much.
I know.
And you can't believe it. She still has Needle, and I do like that. For as much as she has changed, she's still Arya at her core. And if there was ever any, like, she didn't fully Bran out. She
No.
She's still herself, and she's not nobody. She never was.
Right.
And I love that.
No, I'm totally with you. I think it was a really quite wonderful scene. I mean, she could have told him a lot more, right? But I think that this scene was important for us as viewers. She acted as the viewer, right? She was like,
Yes.
She was us in that moment. She's like, don't forget about who you are. Don't forget about who raised you. Don't forget about us. And I think that's
in that
very
moment,
important.
I swear we were Arya.
There it is. That's the one. Yeah. So I really agree, and I think also, like, her picking up Longclaw, she's like, oh, I need a pretty hefty weapon. She, like, realizes, she's like, okay, so clearly, like, if Jon's got this monster of a sword, I need something, which is why she goes and tracks down Gendry and also sees the Hound. And the Hound, I loved that reunion, you know, because the Hound. Like, you know, he's like in the season finale, he and Brienne talk about how proud they are of her, but he can't let her know that, right? He can't be like, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm so proud of the woman you've become. Like, he's got to be like, you left me for dead. And she goes, and I robbed you.
And then his, like, I love after she says, and I robbed you, his eyes almost well up. Like,
I know, he's so proud. He's like, I taught you well. I taught you well. And yeah, no, I agree. I love that. I think Arya returning to Winterfell means Arya is returning to Arya. She had that choice to become no one or to become Arya Stark again. And
she took the right choice.
She made that right decision.
Yes.
Yeah, and then after that, because the Hound gets a dragonstone axe from Gendry, which is gonna be freaking awesome.
So
and then
awesome.
Arya shows up, and they start flirting.
I know, which, like, that made me think, interesting.
I was like,
that
what?
Would be an interesting pairing. Which I don't not ship it, but at the same time, it's like I still stand by the fact that that Gendry could totally be, like, one of the true heirs.
Yeah, so great. Let's put Arya on the throne too. Oh my god.
Heck yeah.
No, I loved this. I think it showed just how much Arya has grown up, which is really important because I think Gendry maybe still looks at her as, like, this little girl, and so for her to be like, no, I can flirt right back at you. I can flirt right back at you. It was something else. And also,
awesome.
Let's talk. I mean, that weapon that she's going to have Gendry create for her, I am very intrigued by that.
Yes.
It's so we only get one look at it. It's a schematic that she has kind of drawn out, and from what we can see, it's two pieces, right? The spear.
Oh, her crude drawing. Yes.
Yeah. Her crude. Yes, that's the one. No, so it's a spear that's clearly detachable, right? And whether or not that means she can use it in hand-to-hand combat and the spear is for throwing, I don't know. But it harkens back to, you know, she wants to fight how she was taught by the waif, right? I mean, the waif taught her to learn with a spear, so we're throwing it back to the waif.
It's an assassin's weapon.
It is. And
which is awesome.
Well, I mean, I'm interested to see, you know, if it's detachable, can Arya throw it? Like, can she hit a White Walker from a distance, right? Or could she even potentially hit a dragon from a distance, or the Night's King from a distance? Night King from a distance.
Getting used to.
I'm still working on it. The weapons master for Game of Thrones said that the weapon that he has created for Arya is a showstopper and has never been seen before. And I've been reading about it, and it's not in any history books either. So I think that they have created something solely for this show. And so I think that this weapon, whatever it is, it's either going to be used to change the tide of the war or something like that. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's what I think.
No, I love that. I can't wait to see what happens with that.
No, me neither.
And the fact that Gendry's making it for it just makes me happy. I like that Gendry is kind of back in the forefront. Like he's been sent rowing and running so many times that I'm just happy to see him
Let the man use his arms the way they were meant to. Thank you.
His giant arms.
All we need, his giant arms. Just another moment kind of that was reminiscent of the first episode was, of course, the White Walkers and the Night King sending a message, right? In the first episode, Ned has to behead deserters that have been toyed with by the White Walkers. In this episode, it's poor little Ned Umber.
Oh God, it was another Ned.
Yeah.
That's upsetting.
Little Ned Umber who gets sent. I'm sorry. This was a moment in the show where I was like, y'all needed to write that better. Sansa saying, "I called all my bannermen here. Ned Umber, where are your guys?" And him saying, "We need wagons." I was like, take a dragon. Like, what are you doing? Like, you have to rescue all these people, and you're gonna send him back, even though it's Bran has literally just told you the Night King has a dragon and has made it through the wall. Like,
okay,
what?
That's my other thing too. Is that just kind of because you brought up Bran?
Yes.
Why does no one communicate in the show?
I know.
This has been consistently driving me crazy since last season. No one's talking to Bran and asking him, "Hey, straight up, like, what should we know?" Like, not that he's going to tell them everything, but like, ask the boy. Like, ask him what's up. So why doesn't anyone use Bran?
Right.
I was going to complain about Jamie being the other one who knows it, but he just got there, so that's fine.
Well, we'll get Jamie's the key, right? But I almost wonder, I mean, Bran doesn't know how to be a human being anymore, right?
No.
Like, there's part of him, and he has so much information coursing through him, and he can only access so much information at a time.
But people could ask him.
Oh, I know.
Asking him anything.
I know. Instead, he's the one that's like, "It's time to tell Jon."
Oh, I hate that voice.
I know. It's pretty.
It's so close.
Yeah, it's something else. We don't have time for this. It's like, all right.
It's just the worst.
Yeah.
Just Bran creeping around.
Bran, just stop. Yeah, I know. It's very interesting because you would think also when they learn that information that Dany has now learned that the Night King has reanimated her dragon. There's no reaction.
Yeah.
She doesn't even react. Like, it is, she and Jon share a look, and then they go flying. I was like,
yeah, and then they go flying for fun day.
Fun day, and they don't even mention it. I'm like, I'm sorry. You just found out that one of your children is going to be used against you in the war to come, and that the wall is broken. The wall is broken.
The wall is broken.
Oh my God. So, yes, I agree. Communication is really strange. It's strange, and it kind of seems to all go through Bran. It's whatever Bran wants. Whatever Bran feels like saying, that's what gets communicated. And that's kind of what happens again, like Sam and Bran, right? Bran knows the exact moment to tell Sam that that Jon needs to know the truth. He waits until Sam has found out that Dany killed his brother and father when he is emotional, and he is like, now is the moment. I don't know if that was a calculated move on, this is the only time that I will get that Sam will do this without pushing, right? Because he was upset and he's like, this will come between them. Like, I don't know, right? It could be any number of things, or just it's Jon was down in the crypts and that was the time. I don't.
Yeah.
It's all on Bran though. It's all Bran time.
It's all Bran time. I think it was calculated. I think that it was a moment where Jon and Sam were both emotionally vulnerable at that time, because I mean, for Jon to find out that someone so close to him hurt his best friend.
Yes.
There's no way he's going to. I don't know. There's no way he's going to punch Sam in the face or something.
Right. I mean, and Dany didn't.
By the way, hey.
Right, and Dany didn't tell Jon that she burnt the Tarleys. She neglected to tell him that information.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. No, I think I agree. It was definitely calculating. Bran jumped in a moment that he knew was the most important, because can I just say, like, John Bradley, which is why I keep saying John instead of Sam, because the actor's name is John Bradley.
John and John.
John Bradley was phenomenal in this episode.
Yes.
This is his first ever acting role, by the way, just in case you were wondering. Yep. And Sam has always been just lovely. He's been Sam. But this, when Dany tells him, like, at first he's so honored to meet the queen, right? He's like, oh, okay, I'm a little stressed. I might need a pardon. Like, I stole a bunch of books that I know are going to help you out. Just you wait. They're going to help. Just you wait. I'm just reading them. Until the plot needs me, I'm just going to keep reading. And then once it's pertinent, I'll let you know. And then, she's like, okay, we can work that out. And it's all in the context of him healing Jorah, right? So it's like she shows up in a very kind way to, like, thank him because he rescued Jorah's life. And then, unfortunately, it turns tail when he's like, oh, my dad is really unhappy with me. She's like, oh, well, he's dead. And he goes, oh, well, that's okay. I can go home and see my brother. And she's like, oh, well.
Ew, sorry.
He's dead, too. And that turn, like when the reaction that he has when his dad dies is like, oh, that sucks, whatever. But when he hears about his brother, there's a change.
Yeah.
That was impressive to me. That scene was, wow, is what I say.
That scene was incredible. It was incredibly acted, and it was, oh God, it was heartbreaking. I mean, that was, and it was actually interesting to see Dany deliver that news. Just because I felt it was kind of interesting for her character too. It was kind of, I don't know, we couldn't see her character just be like stoic like she usually is. But that scene was incredibly acted. I think this is and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first person who Sam has lost in the war, like in kind of the history of what we've been seeing in the past 8 seasons. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I mean, he when he was a brother of the Night's Watch, obviously he lost brothers there, but this is his family. Sure. This is his first. Yeah, losing Dickon is. Yeah, his brother didn't have any issues. Like, his brother wasn't that nice to him, but he also didn't hate him.
Right. He was the closest family he could have.
Right. And once Randall did die, Dickon would have let Sam come back, I believe. Man. So, yeah, it's definitely, so I think you're right. I think this is the first casualty that he has experienced firsthand, which is, that's sad. That's a good point. That's a really good point. So, I mean, then he is the one that goes and tells Jon the truth. Finally, after we get it, we finally, they give it to us, Carly. They give it to us. Jon knows he's a Targaryen. It has happened.
It has happened. Oh my God. And and maybe I should have figured this out earlier, but one reaction I didn't, or I guess one aspect of it that I didn't expect to be so hard for him, and it makes sense why it was, but I never thought about it, is the fact that, it's one thing when you're a bastard and you learn, like, okay, you're a Stark, like, we'll figure it out. But it's another thing when the person who you loved and looked up to so much, who you thought was the best man in the world, like the purest, most amazing man in the world, isn't your true father. Yeah. When you find out he's not your true father, I mean, that's a whole nother thing to deal with. Like, that's a whole nother level on top of this identity crisis.
Yeah, no, you're very, very right. It's I agree. He automatically, that's the first thing he does is kind of blame Ned, right? He's like, well, how could he have not told me? And it's like, well, you literally would have been murdered. Like, Robert would have found out. And you would have been murdered. Like, there is no question about it. And so I get that. I get that.
Now Jon, I get that too. Now Jon doesn't know, he knows a little more than nothing, but he all at once found out his father's not his father. He finds out he slept with his aunt.
Yep.
He finds out that he's a Targaryen.
Yep.
And he finds out he's the true heir to the throne.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot. No, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on for Jon in the moment. I'm intrigued. I'm sad for him a little bit because his whole world has just been rocked, and we knew that this was going to happen. But right now, right before the Battle of Winterfell, that sucks.
Yeah, it's a little distracting.
The timing is not great. It's not great.
No.
And he really is falling for her. They're pushing that hard, right? Sansa is like, "Why?
Yes.
Did you bend the knee because you want to, or because you love her?" Right? Like,
right.
Right. Yeah. So I
he's falling for her hard, but I do wonder. I mean, I've heard a few people say like, "Oh, he's going to kill Dany," and I do kind of because I think before this season it was pretty cut and dry what was going to happen. It was like, okay, like they're going to rule together, or like they're both going to get there at the same time. Like they're going to be involved together somehow, and they're going to be in a relationship. Great, we're there. But I don't know anymore. I mean, I genuinely don't, and I don't know how she's going to react to the news because it means that she's not.
The queen.
There's another Targaryen. Yeah, she's not the queen. There's another Targaryen in line before her.
No, I'm actually a little worried about that because
I am too.
I wonder if Jon will choose to tell her or withhold that information.
That's a good point because I think her loyalties lie as far as they're going to help her get to the throne.
Yep.
And it does. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to tell her that or not.
I think he'll wait. I don't know. We'll see. Look, I mean, the episode is not that far away. Like, we will see what will happen. But I would be interested to see, like, Jon, this is very important. This is going to change the tide of the war. So I almost wonder if telling, like, Jon, I don't know, like, maybe Tyrion or Davos or Varys, like, you know, like, get the advisors in on it so that they can help you. Because Jon telling Dany immediately will result in bad.
It will indeed result in bad.
It's just bad. Just bad. Dany will not be happy. It will not be good for anyone. So I think that he needs to get a little bit more clarity on it and decide what he wants to do. If he yes, he is a Targaryen, but, you know, can he secede and let her be queen, right? Like, there's options. Like, yes, he is the heir, but that's not it. If he doesn't want to be the heir, like,
right. And I mean, I hope he does take it, because if you think about it, like, yes, he's a Targaryen, but again, he is also a Stark. He is still the king in the north, right? And he has Stark blood. He is still, you know, of Ned's family, and he's a Stark. And so, if you want someone who's gonna have the trust of the North, who, you know, even though he's a Targaryen, he will still have the trust of the North, hopefully, because he's a Stark, and who is also the rightful heir to the throne. I mean, that's Jon. Like,
no, it's Jon. It's Jon. No, I know. I'm with you. I think clearly if that's the way that they're doing this, and he is the way to unite the North and the South, right? I mean, like, they don't need a king in the North and a king in the South. If Jon can just be king of all of it, like, that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of the way of it. I mean, and I know that there's technically only one king, but you know what I mean. Like, there's always been a rift between the North and the South. So I wonder if Jon could bridge that gap. I mean, who knows? It's definitely possible, but I'm interested to see how the dispersal of information will go in the next episode, because...
Well, and then, yes, no, I agree. And kind of one more thing to add to that is, and this is going to be weird, maybe it's not a popular opinion, but, you know, everyone's like, oh, he slept with his aunt, oh no, like, how's she going to react? Historically,
Targaryens did that. Right.
They always did this. Like, Targaryens always intermarried, so really it's the most natural Targaryen coupling possible.
Right, exactly. No, I have been thinking the same thing. Like, it's not that if they weren't Targaryens, look, it might be a little weird. But the fact that they are, it's the one house that really incest is best. So, like, that's the it's not fire and blood, it's incest is best.
It's fire for each other in our blood that we share because we're related. That's their house. Anyway,
yeah. So I'm intrigued by the fact that they finally revealed it to Jon specifically. Like, that is really quite exciting, and I think that they did that. I don't know, maybe just to make this... They didn't need to put that in. The ending of this episode was great in and of itself. They did not need to add that in. You know, so I do think that clearly it needed to happen now. Otherwise, they would have waited. They would have waited, because there were a few different ways that they could have ended this episode. One is, you know, at Last Hearth, because we do get to see Tormund and Beric. They survived.
Yes.
They somehow escaped Eastwatch by the Sea. So did...
We're not going to think about it.
No, we're not. We don't know how. We don't know why. It's fine. So did... Lord Ed, and a few members of the Night's Watch. So they team up. I actually did laugh at the when they all like converge and Ed goes, his eyes are blue, and Tormund goes, my eyes have always been blue. I was like,
that was great.
Great line.
That.
Great line. Probably my favorite
Great
line
moment.
of the episode, because I love Tormund. And so then they, Beric goes, did you find anything? And Ed goes, oh, boy, did we. And we see that little Ned Umber has indeed been murdered and stuck to the wall.
Shocker.
And shocker, right, yeah, because we didn't see that coming at all.
Just sending a child to a castle that's probably already been sieged is fine.
Yeah. Great, guys.
Anyway,
solid writing there. It's cool. So he is stabbed. He is hung up on the wall, and, there's the symbol of limbs spiraling outward, right? And we've seen this symbol before.
Yes, many times.
And actually, David Hill, who is a writer for Game of Thrones, kind of cleared the air on what the symbol is to the New York Post. He said, as we saw with Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven, the spiral pattern was sacred to the children of the forest who created the Night King by sacrificing a captured man in a spiral of stone henges. The Night King then adopted the symbol as a sort of blasphemy, like Satan with the upside-down cross. So it's kind of him being like, screw you guys. Like, you created me and you used this, you created me to be this, and now I'm going to throw it right back at your face. I don't know though. I don't think it's actually that simple. I think that there's got to be more to that symbol than meets the eye.
A lot of people have said that it looks like the Targaryen sigil, which I don't.
Pushing it. I think that's pushing it.
I think it's pushing it a lot. And it really is. It's pushing it a lot. And I mean, I don't think it's that. I think it's probably tied to the children of the forest, but I agree. I think there probably is something else to it. I just don't know what.
I have a few theories, and one of them is that, like, so basically, clearly the weirwood net is very important. That's how the Night King can like see where Bran is. That's how he knows the future. That's how Bran knows everything. Clearly that matters. And because the Night King was created at a weirwood tree in that symbol, I'm wondering if they have to go set that tree on fire. The only way that they can, so it's kind of like, so he's saying screw you to the White Walkers, but he's also actually, without knowing, giving up how to defeat him. Is that you have to go, and I'm pretty sure that this is at the Isle of Faces where Howland Reed has been. I'm just saying, there could be something that happens here. I don't know. It's possible, because I have a feeling the Battle of Winterfell is really, really, really not going to go well for a lot of people, and they are going to be scrambling to figure out how to kill him.
I totally agree.
So
I can't see it ever going well.
Yeah, so I wonder if they have to return to the place that he was created and they have to burn that tree.
I love that.
I don't know. That's just a thought. It's possible. I don't know. We'll see. But I do think that symbol means more than just him being like, you know. You know what I mean.
Right, I got you.
You know what I mean. Okay, so there's that. Now, Tormund, Ed, Beric, and co. are all going to try and beat the White Walkers to Winterfell because, I don't know, they're going to warn them as if they don't know. Like, sure. I really want to picture, like, I know it's not going to happen. In the preview of the next episode, we know that they do make it. But, like, I just really like picturing Tormund and Beric on a horse together, you know, like, holding on, like, looking at the whites as they ride by, you know. Because but we'll get Jormund finally again next episode,
so
which I'm really, really excited about. The last thing to talk about, clearly, I think, is the last scene, which it's all of 20 seconds long. It doesn't really, but it held the most weight, I would argue.
Yes.
To me, I think to most people, the episode ends with Jaime arriving at Winterfell.
Mm-hmm.
He has made the journey, waiting for an old friend. He's made the journey from King's Landing. He's finally arrived. He's got really dark hair.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, what? Where's your blonde? What happened to you? But Tyrion also has dark hair now too. So I wonder if once they go north, they lose the gold. Honestly,
that's my theory. Is that just like whenever you go north, it's like, ooh, the hair changes.
The hair color changes. So he gets off his horse and kind of like looks around and doesn't really recognize anybody until he sees Bran Stark, who has been waiting for an old friend the entire time. And it ends.
So
I mean, and the look on Jaime's face. He's like kind of okay. He's like, I made it. And then he sees Bran and he's like, Oh God.
Which, like, to be fair, everyone has had the reaction of like, ugh.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, Jamie has more reason to, and oh my God, I'm so excited about that. Like, talk about a flashback to the first season and first episode. It
ends. I mean, the first ever episode ends with Jamie pushing Bran out the window. So to have this episode end with Jamie seeing Bran and kind of, you know, this is the consequence of his actions, right? All of this. Whoo, baby, like Jamie started this, and I think it was perfect. They could have chose to end it anywhere. They could have chose to end this episode, you know, with Ned, Umber, you know, shrieking. They could have chose to end it with Jon figuring it out, finding out that he's a Targaryen.
When that scene happened, I was like, oh, is this where they're going to end it? Like, it seems pretty short.
Yeah.
But that I think it is. Yeah, I think you're right. I think if they were going for drama, they would have ended. I mean, not that this wasn't dramatic, but if they were going for drama alone, they would have ended it there. But I think they're really, really going for the connection back to the first episode, and I like that. I do. I
think so too, and we've kind of neglected to mention this just earlier. I don't think that Jamie will meet his demise via Bronn and the crossbow, nor do I think Tyrion will. I think that this next week is going to be. I think that obviously Bronn is going to come up north, but I don't think that he's going to kill Jamie or Tyrion. Those are his bros.
I don't think so either.
But I do think that this next, they could have ended it anywhere, but to have it end on, you know, Jamie means that Jamie matters, you know?
Oh,
Jamie matters. Like, and Bronn knows it too. And I think that next week, clearly it's going to be the trial of Jamie Lannister is going to take up quite a bit of the episode. I don't know how much, but odds are if the Northmen are willing to make a deal with Cersei, I think on some level they need to accept the fact that Jamie has willingly come all the way up to King's Landing to assist in the war. He will have to make it right. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
I know that. But I'm interested to see if, you know, someone will stick up for him. Whether it's Tyrion, whether it's Brienne, whether it's Bran. I mean,
it might be Bran.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was like, do you think it will, you know, Bran will be the one that kind of saves Jamie's behind?
Yes, I think that's one of the reasons why he was waiting for him. Because, I mean, if we've seen anything, I think that Bran knows how to set things up so that they happen exactly. Like, he's setting up dominoes.
Yes.
And I think if he wasn't maybe the first one to intercept Jamie and for Jamie to see, I think that Jamie may have ended up with seeing the wrong person first.
Ah, that's a good point.
This might give them, that might give them a chance to.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what I think. I do think Bran is gonna stand up for Jamie because, first of all, I don't know that Bran would have become the three-eyed raven if he hadn't actually had the accident that Jamie caused. Like, maybe he wouldn't have gone down the path. But also, I think everything's bigger now. Everything is bigger than you did this to me. I don't think Bran has anything to hold against Jamie anymore because I don't know how much of Bran is in there anymore. Right. So I do think that, I think that Bran is going to stand up for him. Whether or not it means that Jamie's going to die because Bran saves him and allows him to, you know, join the fight against the White. I don't know.
Right. I mean, he could still.
I do. Saving him for a reason.
Right. I agree, and I do think that, you know, obviously Daenerys will be the hardest person to convince that Jamie, you know, is good in the fight. But, you know, that's where I think Brienne. Well, that's where I think Brienne can come in handy because Jamie has told Brienne the truth. She's the only one that knows, you know, that the Mad King was mad. So that's why. So I think she's important, and I also think that it'll be important for Daenerys to hear that because she doesn't know this about her father. Like, she was too young. She wasn't there. So I think it's going to be also very important, and maybe we'll take her off of a high horse a little bit as well.
That's a good point. I didn't think about Dany's part in it because I mean, if you think about it, the two people who, or two of the main people who are running Winterfell right now, Jon and Dany, both have ties to Jamie that make him not so favorable in their eyes.
Right.
For Jon, it's Bran. For Dany, obviously, it's the Mad King. So yeah, I think Jamie has a lot of people to win over, but I think he needs Bran. I think the way to pay forward what he did to Bran is to need him now.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. So I'm really excited. I'm very excited for this next episode. I think I have a feeling it will be similar to the first, just in terms of plot and in terms of movement, but there will be more juicy content because Jaime Lannister has finally arrived. And I mean, we're going to get the Night King touching down on Winterfell finally.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, this episode, I'm almost glad it didn't leave us with any questions, because the next few episodes I think are, if my thought that they have done, I think that they did this season right, and I'm hoping they set us up with a first episode that was kind of like fluffy and ties up a lot of loose ends, but also gave us a lot of like kind of fan fiction-y fan fodder stuff that like we maybe didn't need or want, but like I think this is going to be the last time.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that this was their gift, and now they're going to ruin us.
Now they're going to kill everybody and destroy our hearts.
So let's do it. Bring on Sunday, baby, because
bring on the blood.
Bring on the blood. Bring on the fire and blood. I think there wasn't much Davos talk this week, so It's okay. It's okay. There will be in the future. But yeah, I think that we have covered everything that we can in this episode. Like I said, so much talking, so many loose ends tying up, so many harkenings back to that first season, and I appreciate that, because this show really has changed so much, and so for them to honor where it came from is very, very important to me.
It is, especially, given season 5 and the feeling that maybe they weren't doing that for a while. So it is nice. And, people can say like, oh, it's fan service, like flashing back. I think it's perfect fan service. I'm totally okay with that in this episode. And I'm glad that it came in the form of kind of showing us where we started.
With that, I'm going to ask your beard rating for this week's episode titled Winterfell.
My beard rating for this episode is... you're on Grey Choice, because I don't know what it's doing, and I don't know where it's going.
Okay,
I'm scared of it.
Okay, you know what? Fair. It's kind of questionable. You're not sure. You're wary of it.
I'm wary of it. I don't trust that beard, and I don't know if I trust any of the feelings I had from this episode. So we're gonna see. Okay, perfect.
I'm going to give it a Bronn, mainly because he's mysterious, right? We don't really know what he's gonna do, where he's gonna go, what's next. And in this episode, they kind of just continued that on, and so I'm interested to see. So that's why this episode for me gets a Bronn, and I think we've covered it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for tuning in this week. We will be back next week with multiple episodes, in fact. So look forward to that. And First minisodes. Look forward to that. My name is Sophia Matthias. You can find me on Twitter at Commander Tully.
And my name is Carly Hill. You can find me on Twitter at Chillin555. I can't change the name because I've never changed it. I hate it.
No, it's okay.
I hate it. It's fine. So it's CHILLYN 555 on Twitter. You can also find me on my website, because I have one now.
Whoa!
I know.
You crazy.
And that, it's carlinhill.com. And yeah, my full first name is Carlin. Surprise. So it's nobody knows that except you.
Shocking.
So it is CARLYN Hill HILL.com, and that's where a bunch of my stuff lives.
Perfect.
Now.
And you can follow the podcast on Twitter at YGGPod. So please do that. Yes. We will be posting a few different polls and links to what we talked about in this episode. But thank you all for tuning in this week. We are so happy that Game of Thrones is back. Even if it's fan fodder filled, that's okay with us.
Not for long.
It's not for long. Everything is death and destruction in the next few weeks, I'm pretty sure. So, until then, the night is dark.
But full of Davos.